Hi, I'm Christopher Warnock of Renaissance Astrology. This video is called Talismans for Stressful Times, and I'm also going to be introducing my new Jupiter Kazimi Agate Talismans. So it's certainly, this is 2025, beginning of October 2025. Certainly seems stressful. I mean, it's sort of a lot of, at least in the US, lots of political and economic chaos. I think it's worldwide, tariffs, visas, inflation, AI, all sorts of crazy stuff going on. It's interesting though. I think if you take, step back from that, I mean, life is always stressful. Seems to we individually we seem to continually having to adjust to changes, navigate obstacles, and you can certainly deal with it by freaking out. Um, but that just makes it worse, not very effective. So I think when you're dealing with this sort of, like I said, stress in your life, it's kind of like two approaches you can take. There's an external approach and an internal approach. Okay, you can work on things externally, you can work on things internally, and then we're also going to talk about the sort of end final approach as well. But I think the talismans are useful for both of these processes if we're trying to do external change or internal change. So I think most of the time we tend to think of like, okay, I want to change the outside world to conform to what I want. And you can certainly give that a shot. What I would say about talismans is I certainly think that over the length of my life, they think they've been very helpful and have giving me, I mean, I haven't had a job in 30, 35 years, whatever. Had a nice middle class life. And I really have to put that down to astrological magic. Now, it would be hard for me to say, oh, this particular talisman, because they say, people come to me and say, am I going to win the lottery? What should I do to have millions of billions of dollars? Then I'm going to say, don't get a talisman because that's not a reasonable expectation. But nevertheless, certainly there are specific talismans we can look at, specific planets, fixed stars, whatever, that really are focused on wealth and good fortune. And I think a lot of people's stress is going to be centered around that. So that's what I'm going to focus on today is sort of, wealth, good fortune, that sort of stuff. So really the premier planet, everyone's first choice, going to go to first before we think of anything else with planets for wealth and good fortune is going to be Jupiter. And, Jupiter is, again, premier planet for wealth and good fortune. And I think, super popular, particularly Jupiter in Cancer right now. Lots of excitement about Jupiter. So, and again, we're going to talk a little bit about some more of our new Jupiter talismans, but check that out. There's a link there, Jupiter talismans. Again, with any Renaissance Astrology talisman, if you're serious about getting Renaissance Astrology talisman, you can email me, send your date of birth, and I'd be happy to check compatibility as a Jupiter good talisman for me. I was this particular, what do you think about this, whatever talisman, or I can make talisman suggestions. So go ahead and do that. Please, if you want me to check your birth chart, have me check it before you order anything. If you start ordering stuff and then trying to backtrack out of it, or have me check it later, that causes all sorts of difficulties and problems. So happy to do it for you. Just, as I said, make sure you contact me before you do any orders. So again, Jupiter, premier planet for wealth and good fortune. So our next planet that we're going to look at, is Mercury. Now, Mercury is wealth and good fortune, but a lot of times he's the ways of getting wealth and good fortune. So, for example, communications, marketing, social media, influencer, sales, creativity, teaching, anything like that. Kind of getting, customer service, relating to customers, programming, any of that kind of internet stuff. All that stuff is all coding. It's all Mercury. We're living in incredible, certainly AI is mercurial, no question about that. So we're living in a society that's heavily mercurial, heavily information based, super changeable. Again, those are all Mercury qualities. You want to master that flow. Mercury is an incredible planet to do that. So again, something to keep in mind. Also, study. I had some people recently ask me about, I want to work on this particular area. I want to be successful and, academically. I want to publish a book or something like that. Mercury, again, is going to be the planet that I would look for that. Okay, so excellent choice. So let's look at the third planet. Okay, the sun. Sun is, it's interesting because they call celebrities stars. Really, they should call them astrologically suns because that's the quality of a celebrity is, this charisma, this confidence. It's almost palpable, fame, promotion, advancement. You want to get a promotion at your job. You want to, be the boss. All the stuff is sun is the king, So, and then wealth, obviously, and then health too. So that's also, it's kind of a bonus for the sun. So all this kind of wrapped up great. So those are the three, Jupiter, Mercury, and the sun are the three planets I looked at. We have a ton of planets for fixed stars and other talismans for wealth and good fortune. I mean, there's so many. We don't have time to do this in video. I mean, I'll just mention two of them. Spica. Spica is the most benefic fixed star. Again, everybody's most favorite fixed star for success, for wealth, good fortune. Exactly, it's definitely going to be Spica. It's number one on our list of talismans. You can check out that link there. And another one I would just point out to people: Argo Navis. This is a constellation. This is specifically good for business success, but again, wealth and good fortune. But we got a ton of them on the website. Again, if you're interested, you can email me with your date of birth. If you want to get a wealth talisman, say, hey, I'm interested in wealth talismans. What do you recommend? Okay, so that's sort of the standard approach. I'll get this talisman and then this effects will come to me. External stuff's going to change around and that'll be good. I'll be less stressed out because I won't have enough money or whatever. Perfectly reasonable. Not the only possible approach, especially since it's unreasonable to expect instantaneous, wealth results from these. Okay. I mean, for example, if you have a small business, and you're doing some marketing, like I said, I have the third mansion of the moon, all good things. It's not unusual when the moon comes around to the third mansion every month. That's when I do the third mansion ritual, for me to have a business boost. I can see that bumping up. But that's not the same thing as expecting that I'm going to spend, $300 and I'm going to get $1 million, okay, instantaneously. Not exactly, again, not a reasonable expectation of the circumstances. So enhancing, opening up the opportunities, but again, there's no way to predict exactly what the effects, if any, are going to be from a talisman. So the other thing that I would recommend thinking about, and this is much more doable, is the talismans as a helping in a way for inner transformation. So again, if we take a look at some of the same planets that we looked at, and we consider them not in terms of what the external effects that we're looking for them to cause, but what are we looking for as an internal transformation, this is all also very useful, in terms of helping us and transforming us, and again, propelling us forward in these difficult and stressful times. So again, if you look at Jupiter, I said wealth and good fortune externally, but internally, Jupiter is one of the most important planets for wisdom, and wisdom is better than silver and gold. It doesn't seem like that, but it really is. Ultimately, this is cutting to the chase in terms of what you want to be moving for in your life. It's to be wise, then the wealth stuff just doesn't seem to be it's not going to be stressful for you. So Jupiter, again, wisdom, teaching, things like that, study would be useful for that. Then we look at Mercury. Mercury is the planet of intelligence, eloquence, memory, again, study. Like I said, if someone's interested in academic study or being an academic or something, then Mercury is definitely the planet we're going to look for. So that's, again, enhancing you internally, supercharging you, making you fitter and able to, function and be more successful because of an internal transformation change. And finally, the Sun, calm, confidence, charisma. St. John's wort, which is a natural remedy for stress, is ruled by the Sun, not surprisingly. So calm, confidence, charisma. Again, stress, if you're trying to get rid of stress, a lot of times maybe instead of trying to say, oh, I'm stressed out about this external stuff, you go right to the source, which is like, hey, if I could just mellow out, then that stuff wouldn't bother me. And that's a little more doable, perhaps, than trying to control the external world and make it conform to us. So if you're thinking about those, throwing this into the mix, not a wealth talisman, but definitely Saturn is the premier planet for the deepest wisdom, occult philosophy, esoteric knowledge. He's a co-ruler along with Mercury of astrology, alchemy, magic, the Hermetic arts. So if somebody has a dignified Saturn, I'm almost invariably, because it's kind of unusual, of all the planets, Saturn is most often afflicted and not really appropriate for talismans. If someone has a strong Saturn, I almost always say to them, hey, you should consider getting a Saturn talisman, because Saturn is giving you that most precious of gifts, esoteric knowledge, that deep wisdom, the deepest of deep knowledge and wisdom that really is I think the most beneficial. Now, I'm biased about Saturn because I have Saturn in Aquarius, which he rules. In fact, he joyous in Aquarius, rising in Aquarius. So I have a super strong and positive take on Saturn. So I'm a big Saturn fan. So let me also talk a bit more about, let's go even further with this is that in terms of transformation, then what, because these are all sort of standard, astrological magic approaches. I'm doing X, talisman or doing ritual or whatever to get Y result. In my devotional practice, first of all, we're focused 100% on celestial angels. And the focus here is not so much I'll do X and I'll get Y, but simply to build up a positive relationship with the celestial angels and to not really so much worry about the effects, is just to enjoy that connection. And then as a side benefit, it's like being a friend. If you become friends with somebody purely for what you can get out of it, it's not going to work very well as a friendship, and you're probably not going to get the things that they're looking for. If you drop all that, enjoy the friendship, enjoy the companionship, enjoy being with a person, then you can have incredible material benefits coming out of the friendship that you really can't be focused on that as your first and only initial purpose for being there. So that's what I would analogize this to. Now, the celestial angels are incredibly powerful. Can't force them to do what you want, but the blowback is really minimal. The worst usually people report is that nothing happened. And so what I like about the devotional practice too, just from the standpoint of like not even worrying about the effects, is it's very structured. I mean, I have a daily planetary practice every single day. I'm invoking the planet that rules the day. I have a lot of prayer stuff that I do throughout the day, and it gives a lot of structure to my day. Like I said, I ask for plenty of stuff. I have a laundry list, but I don't worry about it. Like I said, I mean, do an algal invocation. I'm asking for protection from all sorts of different stuff. And I'm asking because, hey, sometimes if you don't ask, you don't get it. But it's not like a contractual relationship. It's not making demands. I'm just asking to have, the algal to support us and say, hey, by the way, these are potential ways that you could do it. But even so, a lot of that is just like I'm doing something, and it's nice because my wife, she's also does a lot of prayer and stuff. And she has friends and family, and she said, I'm going to pray for you. And that's very, if you're a secular person or atheistic materialist, you can't do anything for people. My thoughts and prayers are with you. Thy thoughts are with you. It doesn't do you that much good. Prayer, actually, that's, people find that very soothing. Now, the thing about the atheistic materialist approach is, it's all fake, but if it makes you feel better, you can do it anyway. Not fake, okay? Prayer is very helpful, very useful, and works, and not necessarily because it gets you what you want. Essentially, I was thinking about this the other day as I was on my walk where I do lots of prayer. And what you're doing is it's very ritualistic in a way. You're opening up a sacred space. You're finally bringing the attention to the fact that the spiritual is always there, but we're not paying attention to it. We're not conscious of it. But every time we pray, we're opening up the space and the mundane concerns of our life. We're allowing the sacred to enter that space. We're allowing ourselves to come in contact with however we're going to conceive of that, with the celestial angels, their connection to the one, all the different ways that we can do it. And the ritual is a way of, actually enacting that and being part of it, not just intellectualizing about it, not just thinking about it, but actually throwing ourselves into this, opening ourselves, and really, as I said, opening ourselves to grace. And this is where the transformation comes in, because ultimately the real transformational effect that we're going to aim for is that we can change what we can change, but we accept the things that we cannot change. And this is serenity prayer, wisdom to know the difference between what we can change and what we can't. And then ultimately, the getting rid of stress comes not from thinking I'm going to change the outside world so it fits what I want, but being in a level of acceptance about what's happening. That truly is calming. That truly is what's most relaxing about it. And again, I think that you can just see all the different ways that astrological magic can kind of fit into that, and the devotional practice as well. It gives you this deeper ability to deal with problems and dealing with it from multiple ways, as opposed to just expecting that you're going to change things externally. So as you can see, Jupiter figures very prominently both for wealth and success and for wisdom. And so, as a sort of a lead on to this sort of, I think, fits in, I want to talk a little bit about our brand new Jupiter Kazimi Agate Talismans. And you can see these absolutely gorgeous blue agate Jupiter Kazimi Talismans. We don't have a lot of these, only a few of them. An absolutely totally gorgeous talisman. The Jupiter Kazimi election was really incredible too. I mean, in order to be Kazimi, a planet has to be within 16 minutes of the sun. 16 minutes. I mean, a same degree is close enough. That's pretty tight. Like a conjunction, that's an incredibly tight conjunction. So 60 minutes in a degree within 16 minutes, super, super, super close to the sun. Very hard elections to do. very difficult. This election has not only Jupiter Kazimi, but also Jupiter culminating and Jupiter hour. Absolutely incredible. Jupiter in Cancer. So what the Kazimi does, like the exaltation degree, is this as a supercharging because it's so small, it's such a small amount of time, it's such a brief moment, it is extremely powerful. It really takes that Jupiter energy, if that's how you want to conceptualize it, that Jupiter influence, and raises it tremendously. So these have been super popular. People have been the Jupiter bronze the Kazimi talismans, and so now I'm really happy to be able to offer the agate. Now, if it's too much after October of 2025, these are probably going to all be sold out. Don't have a lot of them. Gorgeous talisman. I expect that these are going to be really, really popular. So again, check these out. The link is there on the on the YouTube page there. You can see about these. But again, think about all the different possible ways of using talismans. Like I said, lots of different ways. Very useful as far as like your stress. Let's do something about it. Okay, let's take some positive action. Let's actually step up and do that. And taking the actions positive, but just the for yourself, just even doing stuff, taking the action without even the results is an extremely positive result to it, instead of just freaking out and feeling so helpless. So that's again what I really prize about astrological magic is, again, it's nice to see your chart. The astrological magic allows you to actually work with these celestial angels, work with the celestial forces, however you want to conceptualize it. And I think that's really liberating. And then we take it further with a devotional practice. This is going beyond that to just causing effects, but actually going to internal transformation and ultimately leading us on a path of acceptance and enlightenment, that really that's where the true calm and true happiness lies. So again, hope you find that interesting. Take a look at the talismans, see if that fits into what you're doing. And I think you're going to find it to be very positive, just as I do.